So I'm gonna try to drop a few videos today, make up for the last couple days. Like I told y'all, I usually trying to get to like where at the max I do 10, but at least I drop maybe a video a day or so unless I'm taking a break. So this is about Black Widow. I watched Black Widow. Overall, the movie, like I see a lot of people like, oh, this movie's being over, blah, 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 blah. I didn't look at any of that stuff yet. Like I know Scarlett apparently said something, but I have to look further into it to speak on it. I actually went with this movie for the most part fresh, besides the trailer I knew. Now, Florence Pugh that played Yelena, I'm going to say that right off the bat. Best character in the movie. I want more of her character. Loved her character. From the door. Just, she was awesome. She was like my favorite thing of that movie. The, David Harbour did a good job as Red Guardian. They had Rachel Weisz play the mom, and then Scarlett, played that, and they had Olga play something, which, in there too, is one of the people. But I'm going to try to keep this very, very, very spoiler free. I just want to give my thoughts. If I do talk about or start wanting to go into a spoiler section, let's say I'm going off and about something, I will warn you. So the movie did what they did in Ant-Man and Wasp with Ghost. They kind of repeated the same thing, or they repeated that idea of the villain. Yelena was the best. Taskmaster was the worst. I am a person who likes Taskmaster, Tony Masters. It was like they turned Taskmaster into some cyborg, and then they did something else that reminded me of what they did with Ant-Man and the Wasp with Ghost. And if you put two and two together, you will be able to figure it out. But I'm not going to tell you. But I'm going to say that was actually literally, I watched it with a couple of my friends, and my one friend was like, well, this movie just dropped the whole level down because it felt unnecessary. My other boy even said, he was like, you could have used someone else and made up a character, and that would have went over better than this. And he doesn't even care about the comics and stuff. He felt like it was a waste of Taskmaster. And that should tell you something. He literally, matter of fact, for the nonsense, from all intents and purposes, he's kind of actually over a lot of the superhero films. And even he was like, that actually brought the movie down because it was so obvious and so blatant and so because he said it right out. He was like, oh, it's this. And it was so obviously blatant and so unnecessary. Now, it was already kind of interesting because all of her family in the comics are technically at one point is Black Widow, like, rogue gallery enemy. Now, I know with Red Guardian is a little different in the comics because she ended up getting with him. And it wasn't terrible how they set up the movie. Like, I was like, okay, they did a couple adjustments for MCU to kind of build this family thing, to kind of build up some stuff with some familiar faces. At the same time, they could have went a different way and still would have got the same result. One of the biggest factors that actually bugged me was Red Guardian was funny and entertaining, but after a while, it was like he became the butt of every joke. And it started really getting annoying. He never had a moment, outside of this one particular moment where he was upset and he decided to do something, he never had a moment where he shined after that. He just didn't. He was the bumbling idiot who he was like, well, she's this and I'm the muscle. And he doesn't like he did a bad job. It wasn't like I was like, I can't stand him. But I was like, y'all could have given him that one. He had even when it was like these moments of like serious where he was really feeling a certain type of way and he wanted to share something. The joke was he was so stupid. He didn't realize the person left or the person wasn't there. And it was downright annoying. It honestly was. Like, it got annoying after a while. It wasn't that it wasn't entertaining, but it kept taking me out because I'm like, so y'all can't do nothing? Like, they could have gave him one, like let's say at a facility or something, he could have been like, I'll take care of this. And they could have had him shine. So through all the bumbling idiots moments, you could have seen a part where it's like, this is the part where he shines. This is why he's important. This is what makes him. And he could, like, let's say he just beat up like a whole room of bad guys. Like, give him a quick 2-minute, like, Batman from BVS moment, where he's like, no, you guys go, I'll take care of this. And, you know, people got, like, maybe, like, charged weapons and stuff, and, like, you see him really show off something fierce. That would have been awesome. I did like the suit, actually, though. I am going to say this might be spoilers, but I don't care. And this particular one is not a big deal, but it kind of annoyed me. He didn't have his shield, and that kind of annoyed me, because that's like Red Guardian is supposed to be like a Captain America. But they spoke about the family, they did this stuff. I like the way Yelena explained things, like the way they handled her. I did see some people review it, and they were like, oh, they took a serious moment and didn't. No, when she explained certain things, the way she explained it was so matter-of-factly, because I was like, oh, she's doing it because she knows it's going to bother him. Once again, this might be spoilerish, so like I said, I'll warn you every time. They did this thing where they were speaking about the involuntary, like, vasectomy, or not the vasectomy, the operation that stops them from being able to get pregnant. And that's a deep, deep thing. Now, the way Yelena talked about it, though, was she spoke about it very matter of fact. She was like, well, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. But it came off really well because of how she delivered it. But yet, it was a very serious moment, but it shows we're also talking about somebody who's on a regular basis taking people out. Like, so to her, it was another thing. But then you did get these moments of levity, but they constantly would try to do the joke. Now, like I said, I only seen a couple people's reviews, and they were like, oh, it's joke, 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 joke. Yeah, it was borderline a comedy, but they did have a couple small moments. Like one time, Red Guardian was singing with someone because he couldn't connect any other way, and it was just a nice moment. So they had like one or two, but the majority of it is that Marvel formula. And before anyone tries to say, no, there's not, because Kevin Feige said it, that doesn't matter. I can say the sky is blue, or you could be like, the sky is green. Are you going to sit here and tell me because you said the sky is green, now the sky is green? No, Marvel has a formula, and I think they're leaning on it too much. It's old now. All that, let's laugh, he, kiki, ha, ha, ha. It's starting to get a little overdone. And this movie, Doctor Strange to me was the worst of it. But this movie did kind of borderline it. But overall, the action was solid. They did a lot. But the movie did, Taskmaster brought the movie a whole step down for me. They didn't handle that well. The villain thing was interesting. There was a lot of key elements that they just did not handle well, but there's other stuff they handled really good. Like I said, some people are like, it was trash, it was terrible. It wasn't. It had some decent parts, but there were parts where it dragged, and I did feel like it did pull the little bit of that SJW male agenda. It was like the only men you dealt with, it was like one man was fawning over her. I mean, I get it. She's beautiful, whatever. But it was like, dude, you don't need to fawn so hard. So you got one character fawning over her. You got one guy who's a bumbling idiot. And then you got one guy who's like a total jerk. And that part kind of reminded me of Answer the Call 2016. If you don't know what that is, that's Ghostbusters. Where every guy in there was either a jerk, a punk, or an idiot. And I felt like this movie kind of pushed that along too a little bit in its own way. Is the movie worth watching? Sure. I'm gonna rate this film because I'm not gonna go into any details. See it. I will say this: it almost had me at a Need Bacon, on the high end Need Bacon, almost. But I like the character Yelena so much, and the after credit on what they're gonna do. Like, she really brought that movie. I did not think Florence Pugh was going to bring the A game like that. Like, I really, really enjoyed her character. Now, my friend said it felt like there was no stakes because Black Widow, we know, lives. But I was like, well, what about everybody else? We didn't know if Red Guardian was going to live. We don't know if Yelena was going to live. We don't know if the mom was going to live. Like, there are stakes. I'm like, a midquel. The problem is that sometimes people go, well, I don't know because the excitement. No, it's the story that tells you. And you don't know who else is going to survive or not. So there's other people around, and how that affects the character in the future. Maybe that might explain why a character is a certain way in the future. So Could they do a sequel? Yeah, there's still, this took place like, I think 10 years or so, roughly, give or take, before Infinity War. So personally, they could do another midquel where like maybe where she was next or how she got to the point of leading everybody. So they could actually do it, or, you know, they could continue on. So like there's places they could take this. If Scarlett wanted to do another one, they could. If they want to continue a different way, they also could. When you see the ending, you'll see why. Because, not going to tell you, Yelena might not have made it through the movie. But there are other Black Widows, which you've seen them in the trailer, that also could do things. So there's a lot of places they could take this. So I'm going to give this a good time, but it's like a almost needed bacon. Like, I had to really think about this. I watched last night, I had to think about it all day. So, like I said, I'm going to give it a good time. But it is not high on my MCU movies. It's definitely not the lowest. Will I watch again? Of course. Like, the action was, like I said, the action was solid. The cinematography was good. Taskmaster, in like 2 fell swoops, they brought it down. And I was very, very excited about Taskmaster. Finally seeing a Taskmaster in the MCU. And what they did to me was just bad, and I don't like it. And I'm seeing a trend that's starting to happen, and that needs to stop, or these movies are going to start getting worse and worse and worse for me. For example, I've been enjoying Loki. I'm starting to kind of get over the whole he's a idiot compared to Sophie. Like, it's just, I'm like, I get it. I don't like when you have to put a woman up here, but the only way you could do it is by bringing a man all the way down here. Like, that's becoming garbage to me. So they kind of pushed the borderline with this, and they really need to stop doing that. So, like I said, my rating is a good time. Tell me what you think in the comments if you watched it. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. If you didn't like it, I can understand. I can't say it was definitely not a perfect movie. This movie would have been a lot better if it came out in like 2014. I think I would have received it a little better. Kid Protagonist, you stay safe, you stay healthy, you stay real. And I'll see you.